How's it going, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Armchair Analysis here on YouTube. Hope you guys are having a fantastic Thursday. It's May 28th, 2026, which means it's the final video before preview season where we dig into every single Power 4 team in consecutive days. It's 68 teams in 68 days. It's a blast. We had a lot of fun with it last year. It was honestly where we found the most growth in our channel. So make sure you guys stick around. Make sure you like, subscribe, and check those videos out. We start with Syracuse Monday. Don't miss out on that. What you also don't want to miss out on is the Discord, social medias. Follow all those, and then also check us out on Spotify. Working on getting that figured out. There was some issues, so I found some errors that just need to be corrected, and I don't really know what the process is to fix it, but there's a couple videos and a couple episodes that just never uploaded. And I've been trying to figure that part out before I upload more. So at some point we'll get it fixed. I'm hoping to have it fixed by Monday so we can then continue uploading preview seasons. So with all that said, all that administrative stuff out of the way, let's get into today's topics. It's top 10 safeties, top 10 cornerbacks. That's it. We got a very simple video today. And I'm very excited for it. I really am. No video tomorrow. For those who don't already know, I will not be in town. I'm heading to the Morgantown Regional for the NCAA baseball tournament, so I will not be here. But I'm very excited to kind of talk a little bit about that later on down the line. So, with that said, top 10 safeties in college football is going to be where we start, and here is your list now. KJ Bolden leads it off. I think he's the best safety in college football. Clearly, he's number one. Love what he does in the run game, but I think that's really what solidifies him as number one because he's a good coverage safety, but he's one of the best, if not, I would say the best safety when it comes to run defense. And what Georgia likes to do specifically defensively with their safeties, Bolden just fits in so well. I'm excited for him, man. I think this is going to be a really good year, and surprisingly enough, I think this is one of the first Georgia players we have on this list. Or at least the first one we've had in a while. KJ Bolden fits the bill. He's our number one safety in college football. And number two, it's Tay Johnson of Notre Dame. Very excited for what he's going to bring to the table this year. You talk about Notre Dame, and it's kind of synonymous with the safety position going over the last decade, and really the name Kyle Hamilton would stick out the most. But when you look at this Notre Dame program and what they've kind of been able to do defensively, it's built around really solid play from their safeties. Great coverage, but also really good at filling the run game. I feel like Tay Johnson's going to carry that tradition on a little bit further this year than what he's already done. He was one of the best graded safeties in college football last year. Expect that number to continue to rise. At number three, we got Bray Hubbard, one of two. Keon Sabb falls in at number 6 from Alabama, the only team that I remember so far to have two players in the same top 10. Alabama has the best safety room in college football. It's not even close, and it's simply because of these two. The top-end talent from Bray Hubbard and Keon Sabb is far and away above any other roster right now. Love what Hubbard does, and I think that's where I put him a little bit higher than Keon Sabb. I think Hubbard's a better coverage safety, but he's also very solid, again, at filling the run. Whereas Keon Sabb's been kind of noted to be more of a run-first guy. I'm excited to watch this duo this year. It's kind of another year in the, another year in the system for both these guys. I think they can really take a step forward under Kane Womack. At number 4, I got Jamel Johnson, TCU safety. He's the best run defense. He's the best graded run defender at the safety position. And it's not particularly close. Robert Fitzgerald comes in second. That's why both of them made the list. But what they both do, and especially, again, TCU being kind of that more aggressive style defense, I think Jamel Johnson fits that bill just a little bit better. And I'm looking forward to TCU. I feel like they can have a bounce back year. There's a lot of things that are going to change for them, and specifically on the offensive side of the ball. We'll cover that more during preview season. But I think Jamel Johnson, some of these defenders that return once again can be a very good kind of sense of safety, I guess, for the offense. Excited to see what they do. Number 5, Faletau Satuala. I think we got that right. BYU safety. Expecting big things out of this BYU defense. I know Jay Hill's gone, but I think they're going to fill that fairly well. I'm expecting some big things under Kalani Sitake this year. We're talking about teams that could contend for the Big 12, and BYU's not been considered quite enough, at least not since the Texas Tech drama has gone down. BYU, maybe we can start getting on that train just a little bit more. Already mentioned Keon Sabb. Will go to number 7. It's Robert Fitzgerald of Northwestern. Second best run defense safety in college football last year. He played really well as well in coverage. Able to do both to such a point that I have a lot of confidence in the Northwestern team. I think people are kind of doubting them because of the 18-team Big Ten. Chip Kelly's a new offensive coordinator with Aiden Childs at quarterback, who I think is going to fill in very well for that offense. And then you kind of look at some of the other positions, and specifically the defense, which is David Braun's specialty. We're not talking about Northwestern enough. I don't think they're a 10-win team. I don't think they're a playoff contending team. But Northwestern should be in this conversation just a little bit more than I think they are right now. At number 8, Corey Myrick comes over to Clemson from Southern Miss. One of the best defensive safeties, again, one of the best safeties in college football, especially at the G6 level last year. Expecting him to take that step forward and be that guy. Look, Dabo Swinney's kind of delving into the portal again, at least a little bit. And this was his big home run get this time. I think Corey Myrick's going to be the home run land that they expected, especially like they got with Will Helt last year. At number 9, it's Antoine Peak of Cincinnati. I think just kind of staying rock steady with him is one of the best in college football. I think he's going to be able to take a step forward. I think a lot of that comes from just being a little more healthy this year. But Antoine Peak, again, a guy that I'm looking forward to seeing what his progression looks like in 2026. And then at number 10, I got Ian Foster, another Southern Miss transfer, this time to Memphis, following head coach Charles Huff. Ian Foster, graded just behind Corey Myrick as the number 2 G6 safety in college football. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he does in the American at Memphis. I think Memphis looks to be a conference championship contender this year, and a lot of that's going to come from the defensive side of the ball. So excited to see what this safeties group can do. Let me know what you guys think I may have missed. I had 10 on my list, and I feel pretty comfortable with the 10. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the top 10 corners in college football. My list of top 10 cornerbacks is pretty straightforward. I went by coverage grades and just generalized some of the more advanced analytics. Some of those stats include reception percentage. A lot of guys that had a ton of targets ended up not allowing as much or as many receptions. A couple guys that are on this list are there specifically for that. Who led the league in some of the big stats or led the country in some of the big stats. And then who were just generally the best corners in college football. At number 1, it's Leonard Moore, and it's not really close. It's Leonard Moore, everybody else. And then everybody else really leads into Javion Cole, everybody else. I feel like those are the top 2 cornerbacks in college football going into 2026. I'm very comfortable with those 2 names at the top of the board. At number 3, I went with Chris Peele of Syracuse. I think he had a really good year last year. And when you talk about Syracuse, a lot of the things that really plagued them were a lack of offense, especially after a handful of injuries kind of plagued their year, specifically at the quarterback position, multiple of those. Chris Peele, I think, is going to be a guy that you can expect to take a step forward once again this year, even though he was already graded as one of the best in college football. I think he'll continue to take that further step in development, especially under Fran Brown, who knows that position really well. At number 4 is Jontez Williams, was one of the best cornerbacks in the Big 12 last year at Iowa State. Is transferred out, didn't follow Matt Campbell to Penn State. He went the other route. Went out to the West Coast to USC, and I feel like that's a really big add for Lincoln Riley. You don't really hear of him making those huge splash portal grabs, really, not in the secondary specifically. I think this is a really big point of like kind of the point where USC starts to take that turn towards being a legitimate championship contender because they're making the right moves on the defensive side of the ball. Of course, the Danton Lynn hire was great from Lincoln Riley. You pair that up with some of the other things they've been able to do. And obviously, Danton Lynn left and went to Penn State. But they fill the role well. I think the coaching staff really is well put together. Lincoln Riley might be doing his best work in 2026 as a head coach. At number 5, I got John Nestor, led the country in interceptions last year. 6 interceptions, at least of qualified players, I should say. There were probably more, or guys who might have had more. But based on the generalized stats, which I, again, go in and sort it out based on a certain number of snaps, usually 20% of the max. John Nestor filled that gap. Had 6 interceptions last year. Led those who were in the conversation per PFF. So he goes in at number 5. Speaking of guys that were in the conversation, Kelly Jones was fantastic. 28.9 reception percentage allowed. I believe it was 11 of 43. 11 receptions on 43 targets. Now, obviously, some of that could go from missed passes, plays like that. But all in all, Kelly Jones was a very solid defender last year. And I think that this is a really big thing for Mississippi State because they took steps forward last year. You know, we kind of talked about it a while back with Vanderbilt. You could see the steps being taken and the things going the right direction. Mississippi State, I felt like we saw things start to trend that direction just a little bit for these guys under Jeff Levy. I don't know that they get to the position that Vanderbilt ever was. However, I think Kelly Jones is a really great cornerback, and I'm excited to watch how he continues to progress as a Mississippi State Bulldog. At number 7, you got Evan Johnson of BYU. Look, this was one of the best secondaries last year, and a lot of that came from Jay Hill, and I think that probably could take a step back, but I feel very confident because a lot of times it could just be about the players, and if they fill this with a similar system, BYU is going to be in a really good spot. So I'm excited for Evan Johnson and what he'll bring to the table. At number 8, we got Jaquez White, transferred out of Troy and going to Virginia Tech, joining James Franklin's team up there in Blacksburg. Feel very confident that this is going to come down to be one of the best transfer portal moves from the G6 to G5 in college football this year. I'm excited for this Virginia Tech team. I have a lot of high hopes and really a lot of high expectations for Virginia Tech in 2026. And a lot of that comes from the portal moves and the things that they were able to do to build this roster back up and put a team on the field up there in Blacksburg at Lane Stadium that the crowd can get excited for and bring that hostile environment back to Blacksburg. So excited for that. Jaquez White up there at number 8. At number 9, I got Iowa's Zach Lutmer. Another guy that was just really solid. I think he had an under 50% reception percentage. Against was up there with interceptions. I think he had 3 or 4 interceptions last year. Was just an overall sound player at Iowa. And what do you really expect from Iowa in defense under Phil Parker? Going to be exciting to see how that continues to go and move forward up there in Iowa City. At number 10, I got Tennessee's Ty Redmond. Look, I didn't think I would have a Tennessee defender on here. And I know somebody's going to have a comment about me having a Tennessee player on here. But Ty Redmond was actually much better when you look at the metrics than I think a lot of people would give him through the eye test. Look, I'm excited to watch Ty Redmond step forward this year, especially under Jim Knowles. I think that if he can fill in, especially where all of these players coming over, Amari Campbell, I believe DeJuan Lane is up there too. Like this team, and maybe I got that name wrong too. I feel my confidence is at an all-time low. I got my mind in a ton of different places. But what I will say is that I think Ty Redmond's going to take that leadership that comes in not only with Jim Knowles, but with the players that transferred in from Penn State with him, with Jim Knowles. Going to be able to learn this defense, learn the coverage scheme a little faster, and I think take those steps forward earlier than we might expect. Ty Redmond might be one of the most underrated cornerbacks in college football in 2026, at least preseason. So that's where we land. Let me know what you guys think down below. Always happy to hear the comments and certainly understand where people are coming from, whether right or wrong. There are obviously names I'm going to miss. I am one person, sadly. And so unfortunately I will miss some names. There are going to be some things that just don't pop up in my mind at the time of, and obviously seeing those names hit the comments is great because it helps me get back in the swing of things a little bit. We're going to be going through these rosters here very soon. And we may change some things up even as we go through the rosters and go through these previews and preview season. So it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited for it. I hope you guys will stick around and join me in this process. It's going to be a blast. So starting Monday, preview season, Syracuse Orange. That's the next video you'll find here on this channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below, join the social media pages, join the Discord. Follow us on Spotify. That will be fixed by Sunday, or by Monday, I should say. And with all that said, I thank y'all so much for tuning in. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And we'll see you guys Monday for the beginning of preview season here on Armchair Analysis.